I licked a 150-year-old document doing a repair in a recent video, and some of my viewers seem to have a problem with that. And respectfully, they're all wrong. In that video, I said one of the 3 rules of restoration is that you have to make sure that you do no harm, and if you cannot do so, you shouldn't be doing a repair. Number 1 is do no harm to the actual item itself, and I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that in no way did me licking that stamp hinge and applying it to that document harm that document, and I'm going to show you exactly why. This is a 160-year-old letter from Fort Bridger when it was Utah territory, and this letter right here has been licked twice, both 160 years ago. Now I have thousands and thousands of covers like this that have all been licked at least twice, once for the stamp and once for the flap of the envelope, and I have never once in my entire career as a collector ever seen any damage, heard of any damage, or read an article that in any way suggests that saliva is corrosive to materials. As a matter of fact, saliva is generally neutral and is neither acidic or basic. In addition to all of those covers that I have throughout my collection, most philatelic items have been attached at some point in an album using a hinge like the one that's on the back of this cover right here that again is at least 170 years old. And when I say most philatelic items, keep in mind that for the first 100 years of stamp collecting, up until about the 1960s when plastic mounts were introduced, every stamp in every album was attached with a hinge that had been moistened by saliva. Now, it was also suggested to me in the comments that archival tape was a preferable alternative to the stamp hinges that I use. And I have no problem with archival tape, and I use it all of the time, but it's not always the best tool for the job, and especially when you're considering that there are millions of documents out there that are worth, say, only $100 or $200 that may need repairs. It really doesn't justify it to continue to buy very expensive archival tape. Using these stamp hinges is a very inexpensive way for collectors and the general public to preserve their documents. There are so many people that have birth certificates and marriage certificates that belong in their family that they just don't know what they could use on them that is not going to harm their paper goods, and that was the entire purpose of this video. Now, the issue with saliva is very understandable because it is generally associated with germs and being not clean, but if we're being honest with ourselves, everything around us is covered in bacteria all the time unless you just applied something that was antibacterial to the surface. And that includes all of the old documents or items that are in your collection. And although this is a very easy assumption to make, I really recommend that before you decide to publicly judge somebody, you should really question whether or not you're coming from a point of personal experience and knowledge or just a bias that you have.